Well, it's got some dirty, filthy Lisbon in there, so I suppose it's getting a few negative points from me in there. But it's got some lovely
Well,
Bretonians in there, mate.
oh, absolutely. And the lizard men are sculpted by the Perrys. So, it's
Yeah,
like a dirty
that's
burger. You're happy with it sometimes, aren't you?
yeah. But Jason, let everybody know, mate. Like, where did you pick this issue up from?
My mother used to work in a little magazine shop called WH Smith's in the UK.
Mm.
And I used to go in and wait for her to finish after school. And I just got captivated by this thing on the shelf. I was like, what the hell is this? And the word free jumps out at me, which is always a word that's lived with me my entire life. Free is a lovely word of its own. And, and there were some miniatures attached. And bless my dear old mum, she got fed up with me nagging and decided to shut me up by buying it.
Well, good on her, mate. Yeah, you should send her a lovely card or something in the mail because it sort of got you, it roller coasted you into this whole new world, which is called tabletop miniature gaming. So did it actually, at that age, it sort of just, ignite your imagination into all this new wonderful things that you've never seen before, all these miniatures, small toys and, large, dioramas and that kind of thing?
You got it spot on. 1996, this one. And I was 8 years old.
Right.
And I was absolutely hooked. I was like,
Mm.
what the hell is this? Where has this been? I've been watching cartoons. That's nonsense compared to this. It's so good. And then we
Yeah.
found out that there was a shop in the same town. So we went by it, and my head just snapped round as soon as we saw it. Because in the shop window was all these the old skeletons. I think it was Gary Morley skeletons and stuff. Was it
Oh,
the
yeah.
plastic
Yeah.
sets, fifth edition? And absolutely hooked. Because one of my favourite films is Jason and the Argonauts, the old Harryhausen one.
Right.
And that for me, as an 8-year-old boy, I was like, that's the skeletons from Jason and the Argonauts. That's
Mm.
what we have to have them in my life.
Awesome.
And bless him, the chap who run the store, for whatever reason, he was building some for the shop, for some more of those skeletons for the shop window, and he gave me one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was probably the best investment Games Workshop's ever made. That little plastic skeleton. God knows how much money they've got off me since
Yeah.
for that little. What a trade-off!
Yeah. Nice, mate.
But no, loved it. I mean, I think the cover as well just jumps at you. It's a sort of wrap round cover, isn't it? Oh, on this White
Yes,
Dwarf,
it is
and
because it's got Mark Gibbons' cover art for the fifth edition box set. Eh?
oh, absolutely. Oh, and there's a game you can play with this issue. In fact, there are many issues. Do you want to know what the game is?
Is it a 40K game?
No, it's just a little sort of like a party game that everyone can play at home.
Yeah.
It is Spot the Celebrity. The sort of the Games Workshop artist double of real celebrities at the time. I reckon they exist in there. There's quite a few. Like, I reckon there's this. It's not the best example on the front cover, but I liken him to Brian Blessed from Prince of Thieves film. The Robin Hood Prince of Thieves film.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I reckon that king looks like Brian Blessed at the beginning,
yeah.
and there are
Yeah.
many more throughout. So we'll spot
Right.
them.
Okay. Okay. Well,
Some
yeah.
some more obvious than that one, I say.
Well, there's Rick Priestley. Who's he going to be, mate?
Rick Priestley, oh, he would have been a minion, surely, the way he talks about things. Scribe in the background, cataloguing
Yeah.
all the Alan
Yeah.
Rickman's joy. But yeah, no, it's a lovely issue, and it's huge compared to previous issues.
Oh,
From what
yeah.
I've
They're
because I've
massive.
gone back in
Yeah.
time, I've bought a
Yeah.
load of old White Dwarfs, and they're tiny compared.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how the word count compares because there's a lot more spacing in this one than the older issues, but
Yeah, there's a lot more graphics taking space and advertisements and that kind of thing. A lot more photographs and that kind of stuff. The old ones had a lot of black and white, you know, text and very minimal in terms of graphics, internal graphics. It's just packed full of rules and that kind of thing. But yeah, they certainly splashed on the color for the later issues. That's for sure.
well, it grabbed me in. Simple lad that I was, went for
Yeah,
colour
mate.
instead of
Yeah,
content. I was like straight in.
yeah. They
Well,
weren't
actually,
deliberately trying to attract kids, were they? I mean, look at those wonderful little cartoon pics that I think Dave Gallagher, illustrated, which were just amazing.
they're solely for the adults or the mums, aren't they? Surely
Yeah,
they weren't
absolutely.
aiming it at kids.
Yeah.
Actually, there is one advertisement I wouldn't mind asking because I've asked a few people, they don't know what it's about. And it's
Yeah.
the one trainee color component artist.
Oh, yeah. I saw that too.
So, well, I was very interested in it because I don't know if you've noticed this with the more modern GWs or even the more modern games. When they print cardboard tile components for various gaming systems, like, I don't know, Dungeon Saga or whatever, they're not as good as those ones from this era in Warhammer Quest and from
Mm.
Space Hulk and that. That's so clear and crisp and vibrant. And I don't know what the difference is. I mean, that digital print that they do now seems a little bit sort of more matte and a bit less. I don't know. I'm not an artist, so I don't know exactly what's going on. But you guys, whenever I listen to you, you seem to know a lot more about these artistic styles and things. I mean, do you
Well,
know what that's about?
I don't know the exact process, but I know Richard Wright was like the main guy doing all the internal cardstock art and that kind of thing, especially for like games like uh, the Warhammer Quest and Space Hulk, and there's probably a few more there that he's done. But he did all that just by hand. You know, he would actually paint all that out onto paper, and they would have to scan that into a computer at that time or a printer and do it that way. So yeah, I mean, nowadays everything's done digitally, of course, and I don't know the difference in the printing process or aesthetic process or whatever, but I know what you mean. Like they definitely looked a lot more certainly eye catching. I love all the old style cardstock they did for that era, and I think it's I recently picked up another board game that had very similar internal art. It's all done by hand. It's not done by computers. You know what I mean? But so there's quite a
Yeah,
difference in that. I don't know why, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe they're trying to distract from the components that are actually on the tabletop more so than the actual cardstock that they're sitting on. Maybe that's just like a design choice. I'm not sure.
well, I'm wondering because it looks a mess sometimes, and you can even see it in their advertisements. You're struggling to pick out the components. You're struggling to pick out even the playing pieces on modern ones. Whereas in the old, the adverts of like the Space Hulk and stuff, everything's clear. It's
Yeah,
absolutely crystal clear what's going on, and it's so vibrant and attractive.
yeah,
And I don't think it's just bias. I think it's genuinely superior. I'm
yeah.
not sure what's gone on.
Well, I don't know.
Um,
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure.
but
Um,
yeah,
but yeah, like they made really good quality components for their games. And you can't knock them for that.
oh no,
So
no. It was so good at the time. And I know I've heard Priestley mention in various podcasts that they were stripped down to the bone on cost and stuff, but they did a hell of a lot with whatever resources they had. I think they did great.
yeah, yeah. I know that. Yeah, I realize I actually listened to that podcast about that, and I think he told Andy to cut down on the cardboard for like Battlefleet Gothic, which he totally ignored and did it anyway,
Good man.
because yeah, I mean they're famous for their the amount of stuff you got in a box. I mean, it was just huge the amount of stuff they packed in there.
Yeah, sometimes too much. I mean, it's been what's the 1996 till now? What's that? 20, 23, 20, so it's a long time. And I
Mhm.
still haven't painted all of my second edition. That's, that's a long time, isn't it?
It's a long journey, mate. It's you got to be willing to be committed to do it. So people who can do it, we salute you. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, mate, you're a
But
bit of a
speaking of,
40. Yeah, sorry, mate. Were
go
you?
on.
I was going to say, are you a bit of a 40K fan?
I'm a massive fantasy fan. I love
Right.
40k, and I love
Yep.
second edition 40k. I love it for its skirmish quality. It's
Mhm.
really granular, and I love it. It's lovely rules. My wife hates it with a passion, as she hates Warhammer Fantasy. That is a hard sell. She will not go for that.
Oh,
But I
right.
adore the things. She's into more modern games, and
Right.
since lockdown, I managed to get her into something called Dungeon Saga and stuff.
Oh,
And
cool.
she likes
Yep.
the Lord of the Rings. But for
Nice.
whatever reason, go back in time with the rule sets. It just you can't sell them.
Yeah.
I can't get them into it. They just don't like it, and I don't understand because clearly I'm biased.
Well,
But
not even Warhammer Quest. She might like Warhammer Quest.
I
It's
haven't tried that.
Yeah, I think she would like
Maybe I
that, mate.
should.
Yeah, I think even if she just looks at it, I mean, it's so beautiful to look at, as we talked about, like the internal box art and that kind of thing, all the wonderful components and everything like that. I think she'll just be like, "Oh yeah, this is cool." It looks like a modern game. I mean, Warhammer Quest was what designed like and made 30 years ago. about that.
Yeah,
I mean,
long
look at
while
it now,
now.
mate. If you, like, I played it recently with Chris, and I mean, you look at the stuff that's in it. I mean, it comparably to things that are released nowadays, it stands up to them, or even bests them in a lot of cases as well. So
Oh,
yeah.
anyone spot David Bowie?
I spot him coming out of the woods there in his very tight leotard green pants,
I'm sure.
swashbuckling.
Absolutely. I
Yeah,
love
they.
all that.
Yeah, I think Paul was showing me a model yesterday, one of the wood elves that he's got with this really crazy hairstyle. It looked like a horsehair mane or something on it. It was just nuts. So they
Absolutely.
certainly love their hair. I think it was a Gary Morley one, that one. So yeah, Gary liked he's sculpting his hair, that's for sure.
Because actually, this article is quite interesting for any Warhammer Quest players because it's talking about how you can expand it beyond the tiles. It's
Yeah.
talking about how you just could use any scenery that you want. Just go, yeah, we're going to go like a dark elf black arc and all that sort of stuff. And it's really interesting that you because they're encouraging you just to use your imagination touch more.
Mm.
Um, and it just for a little lad, you just sort of going, yeah, I can go all these places. Of course, I will.
Yeah, especially
In
like
fact,
this one here. This one's awesome. Like they're coming out of this
oh yeah,
massive, it looks like a Skaven lair they're trying to escape out of. It's really cool.
yeah. And the pit fighter and the elf seem to think it's a fantastic idea to keep their backs to it. I mean,
Yeah.
of course, worry about the rats, not the big things. Of
Yeah,
course.
let the warrior priest handle them.
Yes, well, in
So,
God's name, absolutely. And by the way, the front cover of Warhammer Quest.
mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I won't be able to let this go because I
Mm.
love it. I'm sure. What celebrity do you think's on the front cover?
Warhammer Quest. Arnold Schwarzenegger?
I think it's Kurt Russell myself.
Ah,
I think the
right.
face looks like Kurt Russell
Uh-huh. You
from
could be in a
Big
winner there,
Trouble in
mate.
Little China.
Well, what you could do is go on Instagram, go and send a message to Dave Gallagher and ask him, mate.
Oh, can I?
Yeah,
Ah.
he's on Instagram. He's on Instagram. Yeah, he shares a lot of his old artworks on there as well. So,
Do you know? I'm kind of scared now because he might just say no.
well, he might just
And
not
that'll
reply to you
damage
like he
me.
did with me. He didn't reply to me, so he might think,
Oh,
"Oh,
fair
who
enough.
are
That
you?" You know,
I can deal with that.
poor guy. He probably hasn't got time. But
Hey, the freebie cards in this were good as well.
yeah,
That's something
yeah,
I
I saw
loved.
that. Yeah, they gave you like the reference sheet of Fantasy Fifth Edition, which is pretty awesome.
And
Um,
Space Marine Predator and
yeah,
a Chaos Reward and some War Gear cards. It was fantastic. They
yeah.
gave
This
you a
this
lot.
yeah, they gave you a lot. They did, and it was definitely worth the cover price.
Yes, because
So
actually, it seems cheap now. So I'm looking at it, it's £3, which by today's standards is nothing. But in them days, it was actually quite a bit.
yeah,
But they really felt worth it, especially with the two free minis, which got played with to death. They were just destroyed by the end. I think they even took part in some kind of campaign in a Christmas tree alongside my Burger King toys. Uh, well played with.
yeah, absolutely. There's John Blanche's really famous looking conversions of his Chaos Marines, which are pretty cool. I like those ones.
His style's so interesting because at first glance you just think, well, I can't tell what's going on, but then you look close and the detail in there,
Mm.
especially with that Mephiston conversion.
Yeah, I like that one. It's pretty cool, that the back banner and everything. Yeah, it's awesome.
It's the detail.
Mm.
His style's very different to other people's, isn't it? What's one of the
Mm.
main things that's different from it? Do you think it's not? It feels more classical, doesn't it? Like a medieval Renaissance type style. Really cool.
It's like his paintings. I mean, if you look at his paintings and look at his miniature art, it's just exactly the same. I think he uses like enamel paints or something like that, or oil paints to paint his models with them as well. So
Really?
yeah,
Okay.
I'm pretty sure he does. Yeah. Like they all used to do that back in the 80s, used to paint everything with enamels. So I think John just did the same with all his other projects that he did back in the 90s too. I doubt that he paints anymore, but I think those ones are definitely painted with enamels.
Okay, well, it's superb. Because enamels are
Yeah.
much harder,
Oh yeah, mate.
I
Yeah,
think.
but they were just amazing with enamels back in those days. Incredible.
Well,
I
that's one of
used
the things I'll
yeah.
go on.
I was gonna say I used to destroy models with enamels back in the day when I first started painting, but those guys just had an incredible talent in producing a wonderfully painted models and like painted like freehand painted shields and that kind of thing. Heroes for War Games. Have you ever seen that book? It's a book that was published way back in the early '90s, late '80s, maybe by
I've
Tiger
seen it
Publishing.
online. Yeah.
Yeah, have a look at that because all of those miniatures there, pretty much all of them are painted with enamel paints. A lot of them
God,
were anyway.
that's skill.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, to get that kind of get that level of painting with enamel paints, it really takes some patience and some know-how, I think, because yeah, I don't know how those guys did it, but they did it. Um, and they're
But
often
that was
like,
the main way of painting, wasn't it? Before the
yeah,
onset of.
yeah, but I think that was before they actually had their own, obviously there were acrylic paints out there, but I think they just preferred to use enamels because that's what everybody used at the time, until everyone switched to acrylics.
So
Oh, these guys I painted myself. These Lizardman Sauruses. I painted these
no
last year.
way.
Yeah, yeah. Hideous little bloody
Fantastic.
things. Yeah,
Is this why
but
you hate lizard man?
one of the reasons why I thought I looked at these things and I thought you got to be kidding, yeah, because they were just terrible compared to everything else that they had. I really didn't like the models at all, and I think the paint jobs pretty much reflect that.
Even the
So
giant frog, the giant infinity frog.
I hated that giant frog. Yeah, it's like Kermit on steroids. It's just shocking. But
I mean,
but
that is Kermit after a long bender, and
yeah,
it's not done well.
I know
Miss,
that ecstasy was popular at the time, so I think the person who designed that must have been on a lot of ecstasy. I think Nigel probably was on a lot of ecstasy when he did that book. Yeah, he must have been.
oh dear.
Knowing old Nigel, yeah. But yeah. But I think
Oh,
that
well,
terrain piece, I think he actually made that. I think Nigel made that terrain piece for it.
now here's the
Um,
thing: I prefer handmade terrain
yeah.
than I do any other that I've seen so far.
Oh
There's
yeah.
some
Yeah.
something about it from when you're actually experiencing it, the tactile nature of it, that's like a crafted thing. It's why you like
Hmm.
crafted furniture instead of mass made. There's something
That's right.
about it that's so much better, and it's just the skill. I like the
Mm,
skill sets required to do it. Now, Stillmania stuff. I like Nigel Stillman's
yeah.
articles. He really comes up with a lot of different philosophies. One that stuck with me is make you buy your army
Mm,
based on what you like,
mm.
make it into a list, and then you stick with that list. You don't change it all the time.
No, it's a good idea. I think it's good until you not necessarily master it, but then you really know that list inside and out. I think it's a good way of doing it because, like, and I'm guilty of that. Like you play something, then you change it, then you play something, a different variant of it, and you play and you change it again. And that's good in itself too. But I think if you stick to a list and you really know the insides and outs of it, and that's good, and you can sort of switch out one or two things later on. I mean, he was quite adamant that like you stuck with it forever. I don't think I could stick with something forever, but in his philosophies, but I can understand that sticking with one list and seeing it through to the end is a really good idea instead of giving up on it if you had a bad day on the tabletop.
I mean, sticking with it further, is that an ecstasy thing as well? Sort of people that looks at a plate and goes, "That's quite interesting. That's quite interesting" for 10 hours.
It could
Who
be. I
knows?
don't know. It could be. Yeah. Well, this is the '90s we're talking about, so I certainly do not
Oh yeah.
endorse the use of drugs or anything like that. Please don't do it. If you're in the '90s, then it probably would have been a second nature thing, especially in the
Well,
UK.
I was going to say, having lived through other people doing it, yeah, I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing to observe others on it, and you sort of
Yeah,
go, oh, you know what?
yeah.
There's no experimentation needed. I've observed them. There's
Yeah. All right,
no
moving on.
for all that yes for all that the old white dwarfs had more
Yeah.
words and less pictures. These pictures are well worth it.
Oh yeah. And
I
I
mean,
tell you what, I've never seen this. This is a Skrulk standard bearer conversion, and I've
yep.
never seen this one before.
Mike McVey was superb, wasn't he? Isn't he? He's
Well, yeah, I mean, but the myth is that he painted all these miniatures, which is totally untrue. He didn't.
Really?
Yeah, he painted
Did
the.
he start that myth?
No, no, no. I think people just naturally
That's fine then.
associated Mike with his name and him being associated with the heavy metal team. That he painted everything you saw in the White Dwarf magazines, which is completely false, of course, because there was a whole team of people painting miniatures and if I was to look at that page, I can know that two of them painted by Paul Moller.
Okay.
One was painted by Mike. One was painted by Tim Prowl. The standard bearer Skrulk guy. I don't know who painted that one. But yeah, there's at least 3 or 4 different people who painted miniatures on that page. So yeah, it's an interesting one that Stuart Thomas pointed out in an interview that I did with those guys in the Heavy Metal series that
Yeah.
everyone just thought that Mike painted everything. It's really funny. So
Also annoying. Could translate funny to annoying.
but I don't know. Like it's just the preconceived conceptions of people who pick up a White Dwarf magazine. Oh wow, Mike, and it's of course he wrote the article, so they're assuming he painted all these miniatures on the page.
Whereas he was using these
But
miniatures as examples for his
yeah,
article.
exactly. So it's really funny.
But I do love his articles, and
Mm,
this for the banner bearers, it was so useful. I mean, I've never got good enough at it, but it was at the time. If you needed to drop your standards in order to get something done, well, I can print it off, can I?
yep,
Stuff like
yep,
that. It was such a useful little article. I'll tell you what, I've been to Warhammer World recently,
yeah.
and I went all the way through the exhibits, and there are a couple of new ones that are superb. But right in the dusty corner, right at the front, there's these tiny little exhibits. They're tiny ones. There's a Space Hulk one, and there's the Warhammer Quest one done by
Mm,
Mike McVey. And the character that he manages to get in them.
mm.
I mean, I assume he did them as it's reported that he made those dioramas.
Yeah, he would
Um,
he actually had his own little space in the studio where he would make these full time. He wouldn't paint any miniatures for the armies or anything like that, and he would just solely do his own books and his own dioramas as a full-time job.
well, those dioramas are superb because I was lost in them for at least half an hour because the detail, the
Oh
character, the
yeah,
narrative in them, they were
yeah.
absolutely superb. Whereas the rest of Warhammer World, there's
Mm.
one or two like that. You can see that the blessed people that are trying to make it, they're sneaking in character here and there, and they're just going for size and massed models, just huge sways of models. But the character beats numbers all the time.
Yeah,
When I was going through that, and it really made me rethink my own collection. I was there thinking, I don't need tons.
that's right.
I just, I say need in the wargamer sense. I don't actually want tons. I just want some special ones that mean something to me. And
Mhm.
it's really changed the way that I look at my collection. Just that little trip because of Mike McVeigh's character dioramas. They're really nice.
Yep.
They capture you. Oh, my favorite article of this entire thing.
Oh, the
That
modeling workshop. Yeah.
modeling workshop. Oh, this is the best bit of this entire magazine for me.
Right.
I tried to make my own spaceship so many times since, just because of this. This chap, Owen Branham,
Yeah.
and what he achieved with that crashed spaceship out of nothing but plumbing fittings and various Coke cans and whatnot. It's superb.
Yeah.
I love that this can be done out of rubbish, literal rubbish. You don't have to 3D print nothing, and it's so full of character. I mean, does it pull you in to want to play a game that kind of terrain?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I love painting miniatures is one thing, but having a beautiful table to play on is essentially at the same kind of, desire for me. Like I really want to play on really nice tables. So having, handmade terrain like this is really something quite special to play on. So yeah, I mean, the time investment, that's the thing. Like you've really got to pour the time and dedication into making something like that.
Yeah, and
That's the thing.
I found for me, it's not so much the time because I'm quite
Hmm.
time scarce because I run my own business, I've got a
Hmm.
family,
Hmm.
but it's the will because
Mm.
actually I've got half hour a day. I do, whether it's to do exercise or whatever. I've got half an hour. I can
Yeah,
find half an hour.
yeah.
If I fill half an hour a day every sort of 2 or 3 days, this would soon get knocked out in 4 months.
Mm.
But I don't sometimes. it's something about the will to do it for me. Because I don't know why, it seems to be a push in my head to go, I want to build this in a weekend. But it can't be done, Jason. It's
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 just,
not. But
yeah, like we all do, we sort of prioritize our time into what we think is going to be the best or next project, and terrain sort of always gets shoved down the bottom of the list. I know where you're coming from, right? So with
I
that,
love this concept because it feels like something out of Aliens, the film, because they were always drawing off popular culture, weren't they?
yeah,
This
yeah,
feels like the crash of the Sulaco, in a different version of the crash,
right.
and that dark grisly aliens theme. I suppose it's Space Hulk, isn't it?
Absolutely. I love the background too. The background that's like it's on fire looks amazing.
Oh yeah.
Looks
Do
so
you do
cool.
backgrounds for any of your shots? You do,
I've
don't
done
you?
one. Yeah, we did one for the yeah, we sort of did one in our Discord group or the Facebook group. I think we sort of started doing it, and then everybody started doing it, which is really cool to see. So everyone's got their own sort of painted background. I think we did it for like the Call of the Crown painting challenge, and it sort of spawned from there. So everyone wanted to have all their miniatures lined up as like an army shot with the background included. So I've done one, but again, it's one of those things that in the priority order, it's sort of been shoved down the bottom to do another one and to do a whole series of them, because I could just buy the panels. They're not so expensive, and then to paint it, it doesn't really take that much time.
Are they
Um,
canvas panels?
no, mate, they're just really cheap, crappy. What do you call it? Um, it's got like a certain finish on it. I don't know how to describe it, but anyhow, it's sort of like pre-painted, pre-coated. So it's just like that real cheap kind of thin type board that you can buy for like a couple bucks a sheet. So I just bought that
I'm a
from someone.
carpenter, so if I'd
Right,
vaguely described it, do you go into a DIY shop?
mate. I bought these
Uh,
sheets years and years and years ago out of like a home center here in Japan, because
yeah.
I do stuff for art and that kind of thing, and I
So it'd
use
be a
those
spray
as like
finished
a
MDF most likely.
something like that, but it's like really thin, really thin MDF. Um,
A
so
hardboard maybe.
maybe
Three
something like
like
that.
two
Yeah,
a Japanese mil or are they inches? What are they in? In
millimeters. Yeah,
millimeters. So it'd be like 3 mil thick.
probably about that.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
got some kind of yeah, it's got some kind of like white linen finish on one side of it.
Oh, there's Arnold
Um,
Schwarzenegger.
yeah,
He's in the
there's there.
background. You see him?
Him and his
Second from the
brothers.
left.
Yeah,
Second from the left. He's looking up, shooting at the sky. Why not? And then there's Stallone in front of him, isn't there?
yeah.
But
That's
this chap on the
that's.
bottom right, he looks like he should be someone, but I don't know who.
Yeah, I can't place him, mate. Just
No.
just say aliens. They look like the
Yeah,
guys from
we'll go with
Aliens,
that.
or the Marines from Aliens, just on steroids.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why they got that angry face.
Yeah.
Oh
um,
yeah, Thomas Billinen. He starts coming in
Thomas,
here, doesn't he?
he does.
Because he's classic for sixth edition Warhammer, isn't he? And
Yeah.
Morteam.
Yep, that's right. So
Um,
it looks like this is an article about rock lobbers and actually just war machines.
War machines in general.
Yeah,
Yeah. He's
cool.
going to do an introduction. He's deep diving into war machines. I noticed he started doing a lot of these things, and I suppose in prep for his big
Mm,
undertaking of taking over Warhammer.
yeah.
He starts deep diving all these things and getting to know it. But he does a good job in this.
Mm,
He seems a really cool guy online as well. He's always answering questions from
yeah.
people.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy. I think he's pretty open to engaging with the community even after all these years. Like people, they just know him through Warhammer Sixth Edition, of course, and late Fifth Edition. But yeah, I think Thomas has
Oh,
been a fan of Warhammer since Fourth Edition. I think.
well, there you go. I reckon that is Kurt Russell on the Warhammer Quest. He's wielding a sword with a wolf's
Oh
pelt
yeah,
around his neck.
yep. I can see it now.
Don't know who the orcs meant to copy. This superb artwork.
Mm.
That's something else that's. Do people have. Are artists more costly than they used to be, or do they have less time for modern artworks? Because there's less detail in the modern stuff.
It's all not in house anymore, mate. So it's all sort of commissioned out to people. So maybe that's why they sort of run on a budget, and they probably say we need this within a certain time frame. It's all mostly digital, so they've got like a whole. I would imagine they have a whole range of assets they can just draw out in their catalog, and they just pop up a background image, and they just fill it up with something in it and send it off. Now
Right.
that's a very unjustified description of it, but I'd imagine that's what they do nowadays. It's not like what Dave Gallagher did. He would sit down in a studio and he would have his own art station, and he would have to start from scratch, like an entire background, like something like this, what he did here. And that would take, weeks and weeks of work. So it's nothing like the old days.
Well, the realism and the depth that the old days gives
Mm.
really sings to me. Oh, yeah, there we go. There's a Falklands SAS if he was a fascist dictator in space.
Yeah, I didn't realize until recently that the stormtroopers came out as a plastic set, which is quite
Yeah,
weird, eh? Like it's such a weird choice. Like
I know.
why storm? I've never seen them on the tabletop. I've never seen anybody use them. I've never seen anybody in the second edition for Facebook group ever bring them up in a picture or whatever. It must have been the worst selling plastic box set of Imperial Guard they ever had, because I've
It's
never
got to
seen
be
them.
right.
Yeah,
Because they scattershot so many different types of Imperial Guard through this period, don't they? This
yeah,
whole couple of years, there's so many different types, all metal as well. So I presume it's their
yeah,
experimentation. Which ones do people like, sort of thing? And they chose them, the fascist SAS.
yeah. It's weird, isn't it? Oh, here they are. They're in the bottom of the picture there with the avatar. Well, the avatar's going to clean them up. Fascist no
Eldar,
longer. Yep.
that's some of my 40k. I love my Eldar.
Oh, you big Elder
The,
fan, eh? Yeah.
I like the Eldar miniatures.
Mm.
That sort of quasi Native American spirit to elves in space. It's really cool.
I think though, yeah, I think the Eldar are very, very unique in many ways, and I think, yeah, I mean,
As
as
an
Jay,
IP, you mean?
yeah, as
Or
an IP, I think they're the design of them, the look of them, the names of them, and all that kind of thing. I think it's very, very unique. Whereas Space Marine is just like, yeah, well, it's just a guy in armor, but yeah, Eldar had a lot of special qualities about them in their design that, yeah, I think it was a very, very popular army back in the day.
were they? They sold well.
Oh, Eldar, mate. Yeah, I think Jez made a fortune out of selling those because he would have got commissioned on everything that sold.
Is that how it
So,
works? So people
yeah,
could do
yeah.
freelance ideas.
Back in the day, they used to give the sculptors a certain percentage of all sales. Um,
Good
so
people,
yeah, they made a lot of money back in those days, mate,
as they
which is
should.
good. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Because according to Gary Morley, their wages were not that great, but they made it up in their commissions. So
As it should be, man.
yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
I,
Yeah, yeah.
I haven't actually seen hardly any credits at all. In fact, I can't think of any credits these days.
No, no, they wouldn't credit anybody now. Well, most of it's all done on computer anyway, so it's all
So,
um,
so they're screwing down on the IP.
it's the guy on the computer, making this particular model. But then Jez is like the art director still, so he sort of
Okay,
directs everything. He does all this. He does all the concepts, I believe, and he
yeah.
just gives it to the guys to say, okay, design this for me. I don't think he does any designing at all now. Which is a shame because all these pages here are all Jez's work, all the Chaos Space Marines.
Yep. Apart from the weird skink people.
Yeah, apart from those guys. So these are brilliant. The Chaos Terminators are just awesome, especially those
Yeah,
trophy racks and everything. Brilliant.
that's one thing I noticed from going back in time before this. The chaos were really random looking in the olden days, and
Hmm.
they really tightened up the design during this period, didn't they?
Yeah,
Made
and
them a bit more sort of
for me,
cohesive.
I actually like the old ones. For
Do
me,
you?
personally, yeah, I
Why is that?
really like the
What
old
attracts you
ones
to them?
because they are just so weird and they look like chaos. I mean, they're just too conform. I think they're just too conformative in the 90s, and I just like that real richness and just wildness to the old Renegades range. I think the Perrys did all those, and you'd actually have models that look like Tzinchian Marines based on what what kind what kind of ornate armor they had, and like Slaanesh guys had very unique Slaanesh looking designs of their armor, and Nurgle and all that kind of thing. So yeah, I think they gave me a very distinctive look, and I think in the second edition they all just became very samey. So
Okay.
yeah, for me that's my personal opinion about them. But yeah, yeah, they just don't have the same attraction to me. I really like the armor style as well for the old Renegades. They just didn't look like normal Marines. They looked very, very different.
No, they certainly did not look normal. They certainly looked very different.
Very
And
warped, and I like that. Yeah,
it's strange because I've come from it from a different place. Because whenever I've dabbled with
sure.
Chaos, I've made them normal Space Marines that have gone Renegade.
Right.
Because for whatever reason, aesthetically, my head just goes to that place. Whereas the sheer breadth and randomness, for whatever reason, just boggles me. It must be like you say, the type of mind. Oh, there's Wesley Snipes.
Yeah.
Dark Millennium front cover there. That's Wesley Snipes. I struggle to see it as anyone other than Wesley. Now, Demolition Man.
Actually, now you say it, yeah, now I can see it now. Bloody hell, you got me going now. You're looking at all these bloody characters in the front of these codexes and army books, looking at who they've been referencing in popular culture.
Well, I reckon they must have been, because it's so fun.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure that the Space Hulk front cover was the guy from Star Trek. I think it's called the film Star Trek
Right.
Generations.
Yeah, yeah. So you're talking about second edition one, second edition cover.
Yep, second edition cover
Yeah,
of Space Hulk,
yeah,
and the guy with the white hair.
yep.
And I'm sure that was what was the film? Star Trek Generations, and he was
Yeah.
the evil guy in it.
Right. Okay. I have no idea, mate. I've never watched it. Sorry, I'm not a
How
Trekkie.
dare you? How dare you? Yes. What, are you
Only
are you into
disappointment here.
Space Cowboys? Are you a Space Cowboys type, Star Wars type, or are you not
Yeah,
with films?
much more of a Star Wars type guy, mate. Yeah, 4, 5, and
Oh,
6. Thank
okay.
you. Yeah, 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah,
One,
they're
two, one,
mucking
two, and
around with us
three.
numerically, aren't
Yeah,
they?
yeah.
What are you trying to do us?
See, drugs again, mate. That's how I blame it on. Anyhow,
Oh,
Jason,
why did you?
Jason, we've
So
actually
upsetting.
run out of time, mate. I'm really sorry, but it's really wonderful to go through this issue with you, and I hope
No,
that's
thanks for the chance.
no
Malcolm
problem, mate.
McDowell. That was it. Space Hulk. Malcolm McDowell
Malcolm
from Star
McDowell.
Trek Generations.
Guys,
Anyway, there you
please Google that image, and please tell Jason if he's right or wrong.
go. If I'm wrong, yeah, absolutely.
All right, buddy.
But
Well, thank you again for your time today. I know it's midday in the UK. It's approaching, I don't know. Oh, approaching 12:30 here. Sorry, 11:30 in
bless your heart.
Japan.
I don't know how you do that.
We do it, mate. We do it for the fans. We do it for people like yourself, mate. So thanks again, mate, and
Well,
take care.
you've certainly got a fan in me, and I've been loving your content and the content of some of your chaps in the community they've been putting out. It's been really nice.
Thank you
Keep it
very
up,
much again,
guys.
sir. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please check out our other content on the channel, such as painting tutorials, collections of other people's wonderfully painted models, our first White Dwarf series, and please check the links for our podcast and how to become a patron to support the show. Thanks very much for watching.